Well, let's go ahead and do a highlight video here of the most important game of the week on ATS Radio for Georgia and Alabama, 165, 166. This line opened 6. Then Nick Saban got COVID, and the line came down to 3.5 or 4. My number on the game is 6. And I guess the starting point here would be, how much should Nick Saban actually impact this line?
A point, maybe. Again, this is an individual game, individual week. I don't think coaches are worth that much on an individual week, individual game basis. Where their worth is recruiting, off season, game planning, and guess what? He's going to be part of the game plan. It's not like he left the team. He's still a part of it. So a point at most. If he was completely removed from the program, maybe I would say it's worth a little bit more. He just wasn't there. It's Nick Saban. He was doing a Zoom call at practice the other day. He's just not going to be on the sidelines for the game. So again, a point. To me, the market is overreacted in this instance. I would say the value right now, according to at least me, would be Alabama minus the 4.
And I guess maybe you could make a case that there was an over adjustment on the expectation that, Nick Saban's around the team every day. Maybe some additional COVID cases are coming.
Yes.
But to me, I think that's a bridge that you cross when you get to it. At this point, if you can find 3.5 or a cheap 4 on Alabama, you got to take it. As well as Georgia has played, as many holes as you can poke into Alabama's resume, I don't know if Georgia's there. I don't know if Stetson Bennett is there against an Alabama defense that, they gave up a ton of points and yards last week, but Ole Miss is a hard offense to play against. They've got 2 mobile quarterbacks. They run a ton of pre-snap motion. They like to run with tempo. Georgia is a lot more conservative of an offense, and I think that's something that ultimately fits right into what Alabama does well defensively.
Yep.
So I think, schematically, this is a much different game for the Alabama defense. I give them a much better chance here in this game. Watch Georgia go run up 500 yards on them or something. But I do think schematically, it is a better fit for them. Now, I guess the second question here would be, like I just talked about, Georgia's looked the part, Alabama has not. How much has that kind of factored in, you think, to the perception of this game and the idea that Georgia's probably going to be a very public underdog here?
Yeah, I think it's played into it, but I think it's already built in the line. If you were looking at game of the year lines, Alabama's probably 7 or 8 in this game, and that's pretty much where my power ratings are. So again, I think that's already factored in the line that Alabama's been a little disappointment. Georgia's exceeded expectations a little bit. You hit on so many good points. If you're to tell me, hey, the adjustment is the expectation of not only Saban not coaching, but also, hey, like you said, he's around the team, maybe we're going to get more cases. I understand that going to 4, but we haven't gotten to that yet. And by all intents and purposes, at least we would know that because I think the line would continue to drop and more Bama players are going to test positive. I think you hit the nail on the head as far as matchup wise. Georgia is less conservative than what they've been the last couple of years. They're a little bit more wide open with Todd Monken's offense this year. But, Alabama's personnel is better than Auburn's and Tennessee, so we'll see. And my main factor handicap here is you look at the teams. You've needed one of 2 things to beat Alabama under Nick Saban in the last 12 years, however long it's been. One, you need elite quarterback play. So, you look at it's a who's who of college football quarterbacks last 15 years who have been able to beat Alabama. Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Watson, Joe Burrow last year, Heisman caliber players. Georgia doesn't have it. 5'11", Stetson Bennett. He's a great story. He's nowhere near what those guys were. Or if you don't have elite quarterback play, you need a lot of fluky shit to happen. Well, it's a kick 6 against Auburn. It's last year's Auburn game where they have a couple of non-offensive touchdowns. You're going to need to create something more offensively, and I'm not sure that Georgia will. Therefore, again, I wasn't going to have a bet really on the game, but now that it's 4, I'm in the position, regardless of the Saban thing, you take that out of it. I would lay 4 with Bama. I'd take 7 with Georgia. And right now it's 4. I'm going to lay it with Alabama.
Well, and I hope you have it in front of you. I don't know if you do, but there's also the stat about former Saban assistants and how they
21-0.
Yeah, they don't fare well against Nick
No.
Saban. They cannot beat the master. And maybe this week it happens with an asterisk, of course, because people will put one on there since Saban's not on the sideline. But yeah, 21-0. I mean, to me personally, I think you have to have an expectation that Georgia can win this game outright to bet them on the spread. I think you have to sit there and think, okay, the Bulldogs can win this game. And if you don't think that that's possible, then you have no business betting them at 4, 4.5, or really even 6, where the number started.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see how this one plays out. And of course, fingers crossed that none of the key Alabama players, or any of the Alabama players.
Yeah, I want to see this one played. I mean, we've been waiting for a really marquee matchup in college football, and outside of the health concerns and whatnot, I'm disappointed Saban's not going to be on the sidelines. I mean, I really wanted to see a big time college football game, and now, like you mentioned, there's going to be a little bit of an asterisk, and now it almost feels like we're going to have to wait a few more weeks for another big game. But I hope it's well played. I hope Alabama covers the 4. But I just, for the overall health of college football, I hope it's a decent enough game, gets a big TV rating.
Yeah, I hope it's the spotlight that it deserves to be, and that the spotlight doesn't become, COVID and all the other stuff that's happening here in 2020. But speaking of spotlights, we do these spotlight videos here on our ATS YouTube page from our editions of ATS Radio. And we encourage you to check out the full broadcasts of the podcast on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, wherever you stream and download your podcast content.